You're listening to TayRadio Marin, a show run by youth in Marin County to inspire, educate, and be heard, with your host, Annalie Reyes.
And your co-host, Santi Hernandez.
And your co-host, Minsoon.
Thank you for joining us this week on TayRadio. Make sure to tune in every Friday at 4 p.m. And as always, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at TayRadio Marin.
Welcome back to TayRadio, everyone. I'm your host, Annalie Reyes.
And I am your co-host, Santi Hernandez.
And on today's show, we'll be talking about how other countries are dealing with COVID-19. And I think this is a particular show that I would like to hear because I'm very curious about what other countries are doing. Sometimes we forget that it's only us, but it's actually the whole world who's dealing with this pandemic. So it's kind of cool to learn something new from different countries somewhere the other side of the other side of the world. So I think it's going to be a very cool show.
I totally agree with you, Annalie. I think that it might just feel like it's in the US or it's just in California or it's just in Marin. But the reality is that it's everywhere. So it's going to be a good show. We're going to learn about different countries and what they're doing. And now I'm going to leave it off to Annalie, who's going to give us the quote of the week.
So the quote of the week is, "It's not where you are in life, it's who you have by your side that matters." And I particularly like this quote for this week because I feel like I'm in the stage where I'm just thinking about college and I'm applying to college and I'm just like thinking like where I'm going to be in life and what I want to be in life and what's my purpose in life. And it's just a lot to think about, but at the end of the day, it's going to be who you're going to be besides you, like with you, that's going to be important in life. And I feel like we should not take for granted what we have right now with our families, and especially right now when there's so much deaths because of a pandemic. Yeah, don't take for granted for the family members that you have, the friends that you have, your siblings. I know sometimes it's hard to get along with them, but they're there. They can help you and support you, and some may show it and some may not, but I'm pretty sure all siblings have affection towards each other. But that being said, I know that Thanksgiving is this week, so and it's gonna be hard to like have all your family and have your friends and family besides you beside you. So I was wondering, Santi, what are you planning to do in Thanksgiving and how are you gonna do it?
For my Thanksgiving, it's just going to be my family. So my dad and my mom, my siblings, and just an aunt who's by herself. She doesn't have family. So she's going to be with us, and we're just going to make a turkey. And we do a tradition with my family that everybody gets to cook their own dessert. So normally my brother does this sweet potato like pudding type. I don't know how to describe it. So he knows how to do that. And I tend to always do some type of pie. Like I always end up trying. Last year I tried my first pumpkin pie, which was it was good. And then, but I like to do it from scratch. So I do like everything from scratch. So that's what we're gonna do. And I hope you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving. And I know it's very different. And we're not gonna have all of our family members at home. It's going to be different and annoying because, it's time where you want to be with your family. But remember that everything's just temporary right now.
It sounds delicious, like what you just said. Like I want to try that. Like I never tried sweet potato pudding, so it'd be cool if one day I do try. But yeah, I agree. And for me particularly, I don't eat turkey because I'm vegetarian, but my mom usually does tamales, so that's gonna be great. And yeah, it's weird to think about it, but there's so many turkeys being killed right now. But but like I respect anyone who eats turkey. My mom eats turkey. I mean, so yeah. Hopefully you guys do enjoy your Thanksgiving this week. And, remember to stay safe and just enjoy what you have right now and be grateful for what you have right now. I know it may seem hard because like you know what you're missing out from like last year, but it's I think it's very good to just think positive. But before we do continue with or start our topic about different countries and how they're dealing with COVID, we'll be hearing a PSA and we'll be right back.
Are you in an unhealthy relationship? Are you a victim of a crime? Need someone to talk to? Well, the Victim Witness Program is able to help you by giving you the support and help that you need to be safe. You can call the Victim Witness Program at 415-473-5080. Again, the number is 415-473-5080.
Welcome back, watchers and listeners. We hope you found the PSA helpful. We'll now be talking about what other countries are doing for COVID-19 and how they're handling it. And we are first going to talk about what is China doing in COVID-19.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about China and what they did because it's very, like you mentioned earlier, you're curious to know what other countries are doing because we're all in this together, the whole world. So Wuhan was placed under a very strict lockdown that lasted 76 days. So the people were put into quarantine, as well as public transportation was suspended. So there's a lot of people over there. And so one of the things that they did was they shut down the public transportation. And then there were 14,000 health checkpoints were established at the public transportation hubs to be able to see how people were doing. So basically, schools did not reopen until a very long time. And dozens of cities implemented family outdoor restrictions, which typically meant that the only member of each household was permitted to leave the home every couple of days to collect necessary supplies, which is something that we did not have here. So for example, let's say my dad goes out and he's the only one to leave to go get supplies, food, grocery, anything like that. And then he would come back. But the family were restricted to not everybody could go out, which is a very interesting thing.
I think it's kind of interesting to think about that because, we don't do that here. I mean, we haven't had that issue or where we need to do that, but it's kind of like weird because I don't know, I'm just thinking about the jobs, how many jobs a lot of people have lost because only one person from their family can leave from the household. And I'm sure at least two, if there's a family of two parents, I'm sure that one parent must have lost one job. Or I'm kind of wondering if they both lost their jobs because they're only allowed to leave for necessary items, right? So I'm just thinking about that. That must have been hard, but it says that it's only been a couple of days. So I'm just thinking about that particularly.
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
part of what they did was to stop the spread. And like I said, they were very strict about whole quarantine, what the people had to do and had to stay home. And as well as they managed a very effective contact tracing system. So they had contact tracers, figure out. We've been wanting to have a show about contact tracers, but basically what contact tracers do is they take a person who has had COVID and then they track what have they done and where they got the COVID, the virus, and then that way they can pinpoint who needs to be in quarantine.
Right.
They also sanitize. No, go ahead.
And I feel like they were really restricted with people not going out because the virus went really high up really quickly, and at the beginning they didn't know if the virus was contagious from human to human. So then once they saw that the virus was contagious and building a lot of confirmed cases of COVID, they reacted fast and they're thought that no, we need to restrict a lot with no human contact at all. And yeah, I agree. Like the COVID tracing, I think it's really effective for like knowing who has been in contact with someone like around their surroundings. And yeah, I mean, I think it helps notify those who was exposed to that virus to make sure to like check in and take, get tested if they are notified to, know if they got it or not. And I feel like it's less of like a hazard. Once they get tested, they know if they are able to go out or like, stay quarantined and not spread the virus. And I think that really helps contain the virus here in the United States and also over there in China. But yeah, I
Yeah,
just wanted to add that.
China's way of not spreading the virus more, they sanitized the streets. So most public areas were sanitized, and these areas were sanitized to be able to stop the spread and kill the virus. And some parts of China did that, which was very interesting. And now I want to know more about Switzerland, which Annalie is going to explain to us what they did in response to COVID.
I think it's very interesting how they like spray, like I think like this disinfectant. And it's pretty interesting to think about because like they're killing like the molecules that we don't even see. So it's I don't know, it's kind of interesting. But going back to what we were talking about, like Switzerland, what are they doing? Well, recently, like in the beginning of November, there was a huge spike on the number of cases of COVID-19. And so this past week, the cases have been slowly decreasing. But right now, like it's not recommended to go to Switzerland at all unless it's like a special or it's like a special need, like you really have to go there. But also like citizens of Switzerland can also, go back to Switzerland. But it's been tough for Switzerland right now. And for right now, they on the news they said that Switzerland has made a reservation of about 13 million doses of prospective vaccines, and there's two suppliers and an international from WHO. So yeah, it's a lot of vaccines that they're asking for or like getting. And I saw like a poll where like 50% people would like to will take the vaccine if the vaccine is effective. So I am pretty sure that's why they have a large amount of reserved vaccines, and right now they are restricting everyone by enforcing to wear masks in enclosed public spaces, and this is across Switzerland, everywhere in Switzerland. And they also are lowering the train passage. They're lowering the limit because they are neighbors to Italy, France, and Germany. And so like there's train passages going through those neighbor countries. So they're trying to limit those number of trains so that the spread does not go from France to Switzerland or Switzerland to France. But sometimes it's hard to control that because, there's people who take the train and yeah. But they also said that more than 15 people at a gathering is banned. And they also restricted transportation of night trains and buses since November 7th. And this is until Tuesday. I'm not sure if they're going to lift that up during this week. But yeah, they're restricting that. And I feel like that's kind of like a curfew similar to here in the United States. because we used to have a curfew. I'm not sure if Santi had a curfew in her area, but I remember there was a curfew, or near our areas, like in Vallejo, there was a curfew. Um, and yeah, it's kind of similar to night trains and buses. And so, yeah, that's basically what I have for Switzerland. I don't know if Santi wants to add any um, experience of her, like if she had curfew in her area or not.
I don't remember if I had curfew the last quarantine part. I just knew we weren't allowed to go out unless it was an essential need that we needed to go out. But however, today, I think starting Saturday of this week, they started a curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. You shouldn't be out unless it's an essential thing that you need to do. But I don't remember if we had one before, but we didn't go out. Do you
Is this
remember?
for Marin County? The
Yeah,
whole
well,
of
it's
Marin
the whole
County?
California, I believe. We have a curfew now
Oh,
from
really?
10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Yes.
Oh, no.
So I
I
just
didn't
read
know.
that because I didn't know that
I
either.
I heard it from my mom, but I thought it was gonna be enforced later on. Did it start this Saturday?
Yes, I believe it started this Saturday and it's going to go through until December 21st because the
Wow.
cases went up a lot.
A lot.
So
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah. There's been a lot in Marin. So like at my other job, they're now enforcing to like they're really strict with the 6 feet gather, like 6 feet apart, and like people used to like do elbow touches, but they're like, no, don't do that, because like it's it's getting worse, the cases, and especially now with the holidays, there's a lot of people, and um it's just a lot that, like, I think it's better to have that enforcement because of the holidays, and there's going to be a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of gatherings, let's just say that. So um please be careful and stay safe, and yeah. But I do want to pass it on to Santi, who she will be talking about the Central America part of the world.
Yeah, so Central America, they did lots of different things and they had different protocols. For example, speaking of curfew, Guatemala had a curfew from 5, I believe it was 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. It was really early. And the people who would go out, you would be given tickets if you would be out on the street with just to go out. And I know that a lot of Central America, they don't have a lot of grocery stores. They have more of markets, like farmers markets in certain areas if you're not living in the city. So those were shut down. So I know that the people who were in smaller towns, they had a bigger struggle with getting food because what they had to find was go to their local stores, and there are not a lot of local stores. There's like different certain ones because they rely on the farmers market. So they had to buy rice, beans, and everything, what quick. So it's not like here where in the US we go to Safeway and everything goes out, they restock the next morning. And in developing countries, that's not the case at times. It takes longer. So they had a hard time with that curfew and getting food. And then they were restricted with no gatherings at all. And it was a struggle because if there was family members who had funerals, they couldn't have a funeral. It was just a very small family. You could have a funeral and that's it. And then school shut down. And in developing countries, most of these in Central America, and they are developing countries, so they're not as advanced as other countries, which means that they don't have that privilege of saying, "Oh, we're gonna go online," because it's unrealistic for their economy. So schools just shut down, and students they weren't allowed to go to school, and their education was basically put on pause, which was very surprising for me, and it made me think of how blessed I am to be here in the US because we are given the opportunity to still go to school. And then So testing wise, I know I mentioned China, they did test. In developing countries, it's a lot harder, again, because of the economy. And small towns, they didn't have the opportunity to get tested. And the medical area for them, it's harder because there's a lot of more poverty in those countries. So for the people who live in the city, they have a little bit more of an advantage, but at the same time, it's not a huge advantage or huge difference with testing. So a lot of those towns were not allowed, they couldn't afford or they couldn't get the testing that they needed. And then they closed the borders. So certain countries closed the borders and they closed the airports, and no one was allowed to go in, no one was allowed to go out. And El Salvador was actually one of the very first countries in Central America to close down their borders. And something interesting that I found about El Salvador is that they did not charge rent to people who were renting homes or apartments because they knew that the economy was on hold because lots of people were not allowed to go to work. And I found it so I had a very interesting reaction when I heard that El Salvador they put it out that they were not going to charge their people for rent because of the current situation, because it was no one's fault. So I found that very interesting. And then sadly, fear played a big role in the communities. Many people who died of the virus were burned and left on the street. So one of the things that I saw I believe it was in Costa Rica, where people who died of the virus, they would leave them on the street and burn them on fire. And that was so sad to watch, and it was very graphic, but it was the fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing what's going to happen. And that's what, developing countries went through and are continuing to battle, is that fear of the unknown and uncertainty. And like I said, many of these countries have a very high poverty rate, and those people they don't have the privilege or to have what we have here in the US and in other countries. And then in Costa Rica, students would receive food from school and were able to stay home. So part of what I saw that in Costa Rica, they were really focused in the education system. And I don't think I've mentioned this before, but fun fact, they do not have an army. They don't have a military. And all the funding that they have goes for students. So most students get a full ride to all of their education. They're really focusing on education. So when the schools shut down, they were able to provide online schooling for their students. And with that, they were giving a certain amount of food delivered and that the kids could get. And the students were able to receive meals. So that's all I have for Central America. And again, like I said, most of these countries are developing countries, and they had more struggles that we also face, but in their economy, in where they are, a fear played an important role in what the circumstances turned out to be.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's a lot harder, especially since their economy is lower. But we will be right back after playing a song.
Yo, CeeLo killed this shit. Yeah, she made me heartless. She hopping in the mosh pit. Yeah, she made me wanna drop. She made me wanna lock it. She wants my mind, I lost it. She wants my heart, but it's rotten. Yeah, I got a black heart, I'm a rock star. Running out of patience, baby, I'm not a doctor. Running past my enemies, but I think I lost her. Stuck up in the...
Welcome back. And if you are a local artist, send our music our way via email or DM at TayRadio Marin to be mentioned on the show. And we were just talking, Santa was just describing us about the economy and how different it is from Central America and North America, United States, basically. And I agree with her that like groceries there is so different, and the groceries are there are like fresh. Like, not saying that like United States, they don't have fresh grocery. It's just that they go to markets that are local to them, like literally near them, like neighbors basically. And there's neighbors who grow their own food and they sell those food. And um, it's hard when, when they close it down, because it's different there. Like, there is farmers market. It's like a farmers market basically, and they sell meats and just rice and everything that you can think of, like from vegetables and food. But I was also like surprised when Santi did say that schools in Central America, sorry, like were stopped, they were shut down. And I agree with you. Like, I'm very blessed with the educational system here and how advanced the economy is here. And I feel bad for those students who, are going to be behind in school, and they're like, worrying about that. I was happy how El Salvador was giving out rent free, and I think that really helped the people who live there, because it's a struggle to pay rent when the economy is down and there's a pandemic. So yeah. And I did want to add that yes, there is a lot of worrying in other parts because there's not much testing going around. And I feel like they're not really they don't really have money to have the technology that we have here, and how they can separate the DNA codes and find out what's the COVID DNA, and have that for testing. And I feel like that's why there's a lot of fear there. And because like they have a different economy. And yeah. And I do feel bad for those who are being left on the streets. I feel like that's really scarring for a lot of people to look at. My heart is to those people who did lost someone and they saw that. And yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Just know that we're all going through this, and if you do need support, please contact us at TayRadio Marin on Facebook or in Instagram. You can DM us. But sadly, we are near the end of the show. I don't know, Santi, do you have any last words before we do end?
I want to tell you guys to be grateful every day. It shouldn't be just on Thanksgiving. It should be every day, because we're lucky to be here. I know we have struggles with school and applying to college or work, but at the end of the day, we got another day. And that is truly a blessing.
I hope you guys do have a good Thanksgiving if you do celebrate it. Otherwise, we hope that you guys have a good weekend. Bye, guys.
This is the end of our show for this week. Make sure to catch us next week at 4 p.m. on Facebook and Instagram at TayRadio Marin.